I look after Southern Railway's cycle facilities, improvements, and everything else that goes with cycles. But I'm just going to explain to you a little bit about our cycle hubs, how we got to where we are, what the types of the concepts are, and how we've involved all the people that we need to involve to do these. If we start on maybe what James was talking about, the traditional storage and what a hub brings to a station. The traditional storage, as he says, there's nothing wrong with it. In lots of locations, they're fit for purpose, and they do a very good job, and they provide a good service to our passengers. But creating a hub from a traditional comes around from funding opportunities, encouraging people to change their transport mode, evolution of becoming a small facility to a big facility, the demand, and an improvement that people are asking on their basic cycle parking that they have at the station. What it gives for us, having a hub, is an increased security, an opportunity to have other functions and services, and with that it provides the train operating company with an added revenue stream for the maintenance and the upkeep of the building. In the planning and concept process, which is in a very important role, especially for the Brighton cycle hub, there was lots and lots of things that we had to put in place even before we could start. And these included, and there is lots of them, but just as a few, is we had to do an in-depth feasibility, which we used a number of consultants because they changed over the years, because this is an aspiration that was from myself for about 4 years ago. So this has taken from 4 years till now to get where we are today. And we worked very closely with the Brighton and Hove Council to work the feasibility, which I must say they put money towards. But we also had to obviously do some passenger surveys. We surveyed the cyclists. We had to drill down where would be the correct location for the station. All the pre-planning, that includes a pre-planning submission with the planners, and also advice from the travel planners in Brighton and Hove Council and the environmental team, not just at Brighton and Hove, but also our own environmental team. Some key points to think about in the planning process is making sure that you have a clear plan and objective. Who needs to be involved right from the beginning, have a good comms plan to be able to give that information out to people beforehand, what you're trying to do or to achieve, making sure that the staff and the business know, and providing posters, etc. When it comes to our stakeholders, regular meetings with these stakeholders, not just for progress, but also informing them of timescales, because these are always subject to change when we're in the planning process. Try include the funding contributors, because a lot of the ways we start them right at the beginning and we ask them to be involved and join us as being a partnership. But what we don't do enough of is that when we're doing the actual delivery of it, and we're doing the updating with the comms plans, we don't tend to involve them too much. Really, they should have some role and responsibility in what we're trying to do, because it's not just us that should be pushing for it from our side. And it's also a good idea to manage the change. And you manage the change by telling people the benefits that they're going to have at the end. That's really important. Some of the stumbling blocks that we had along the way, quite a few at the beginning, I must say. It improved as time went on, but it was very, very difficult for a size of a station of Brighton that has over 20 million people pass through it every year. We currently had somewhere in the region of around 300 cycle parking facility, to be able to give them something that was going to be not just for what was needed now, but also what's going to be there for the future. And to try and find the space to put this hub was very, very difficult. Hence why we had to do lots of surveys and lots of feasibilities. And this area where it is now at the back of the station wasn't the first option. The first option was at the front of the station where everything else is and where is the most popular entrance. So we had to convince people that the rear of the station and the location where it was going to be, not only was it the right place, it was always going to be the right place for the future because of what was happening at the back of that station in the future, as you can see when we go outside later, with the new residential and hotels, and the entrance is very much more popular than it was a couple of years ago. Obviously, it will always depend on budgets and what you can and cannot do, and the timescales you have around the budgets. There is also the approval stages, which we all know, working in the train industry, these take a long time to get through, where we have not just the planning application to get through, we also, in a lot of cases, working next to a listed building. We have to get that approval. If there's areas that are not quite in your lease area for your train operating company, you speak to Network Rail and you have to go through a land clearance process, which a lot of us have probably done before. But not only that, we have to go through a landlord's consent process because they're a landlord, and also we have to appease all the users that are using the station as well, because they will have a say in if it goes ahead or not. In construction, there's a lot of things that we have to think about, and there's a lot of things everybody has to think about when they're doing something like this, is that we have to try and keep the public safety in mind and the top priority at all times while we're constructing something this size. It also makes it very difficult trying to have this construction, which is not a small construction, going whilst you're trying to keep the station operational. And in the area that we constructed this cycle hub is the same area where we have crowd management in place for Brighton and Hove football. We also have replacement buses for engineering works. We also have, it's our main drop-off and pick-up point, and there's a very small taxi rank there. There's also a couple of hotels and a multi-storey car park as well. So that's important, but it's also important that it doesn't put at risk your evacuation plans for the station. You keep your risk assessments up to date, and you keep people updated with posters and progression. The multi-use inner cycle hub. These were my ideas or my aspirations, talking to people, what I felt was needed in this type of cycle hub. It may not be everybody's choices, but these are mine. As part of this building, to start with, we were talking about having a bike maintenance repair workshop up on the first floor with a cafe area linked into the showers and the toilets and the changing rooms. But when we started talking to local businesses and inviting people to put a tender in to occupy the building for that business, it was decided that it would be quite difficult to have the cycle parking downstairs and try and encourage people upstairs to maintain their bike and use the cafe area upstairs. So what we did is that we kept to the 500 spaces that we could keep on the ground floor, and we made smaller units for the cafe area and the cycle maintenance and repair. And what we did is we rethought what we could put upstairs along a healthy scheme and along a business module. So we put a spinning classes upstairs, which kept on the healthy theme of cyclists, and we put a business centre upstairs where you can hire on a short-term or long-term basis to have meetings and so forth. We also obviously got the key card in there that's accessible. We have at the moment we have a high security system to get upstairs, but once we have a lot of the spinning classes up and running, on a regular basis, and we get the business underway. It is underway to a certain degree, but once we get it underway, we will be able to issue the key card, so you'll be able to go upstairs with a key card as well, not just in the cycle parking. To get the businesses signed up, basically, it wasn't that difficult because of people could see what was coming and the way that we had our comms plan put together. We used the council and the local councillor to talk to people in the area. We used our Travel Point Trading, who look after our retail portfolio, to seek local businesses to see who was interested. But upmost, we wanted somebody local so that we had local employment in mind at all times. And to finish off, some of the lessons learnt, and there was quite a few, I must say, but this is the first big one that we've done so far. And some of the things that I've learnt is that you really do need to give people awareness of what you're doing. Don't just keep it to yourself. Don't just keep it within the business. You need to get out there and tell people what you're going to do, and give people an expectation of the scheme. Because you tell somebody that you're going to put a cycle hub in with various businesses in there, people's perception or their expectation may be completely different to yours. So you have to try and make that clear. Promoting, more so around the key card. It was found it very difficult to communicate out that the key card is not just for travelling on the train. There's got multi-functions that can be loaded onto this card, and one of them is to use the cycle hubs, and it's free to register, and the cycle hub is free to use. That was one of the hardest things to tell somebody, because nobody expects something for free. It's really, really difficult. And also a bit what I touched on before about giving realistic timescales. In hindsight, I should have said this was going to take another year, and that's a lot around the funding side. And also to give some responsibility to the third-party funder. Some advice I would give to any other project managers or any integrated transport managers that are thinking about doing a hub of this size. Do talk to local users and local groups in the area, because you will find that they are so useful to you. You may not like to hear what you want to hear, or you're going to hear from them, but they are very, very useful. Go and view other hubs, and speak to either the project manager or the person or the people who are running it, and that means anywhere in the country, any other train operating companies. Get some experience off of them before you tackle something on this scale. Look up European models. You know, some of these European countries have been doing it for years, and we should be taking good examples and lessons learned off of those. And if you're lucky enough, you may be able to go over and visit. At the beginning, I found it very good for me, because as part of our committed obligation for Brighton, we had to produce a travel plan for the station. So that helped me immensely. So that's worth checking if you're looking at putting a cycle hub at one of your stations, that you check either with the council or with yourselves if you've already done a station travel plan, because that will help you on the ways and the means of using cycling. And lastly, and here's an important one, you may have an idea, or you've already looked into an area where you want to put a hub, but check that no one else has got plans for that site. I'll leave you on that one. Okay, thanks very much.